Crochet is just having a moment. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be talking all about crochet because I'm not gonna lie, it's taking over my life. Don't worry, knitting is not going anywhere. Crochet is just having a moment, and I'm embracing that. I'm completely fine with that. So I thought that I would share with you all of the things that I've cast on in the past few weeks. I think it was about like a month that I woke up and I was just like, I want to get this whole crochet thing. I don't know what it is, but I need to get it. I need to understand it. And oh my goodness, what a rabbit hole I have fallen down, because again, it's just taken over everything. So if that is your jam, gather around, grab a cup of something, and let's get into things. But first, Margot the mannequin. What is she wearing? Last week we didn't talk about it. She just was kind of hanging out in the corner, and I'm sure many of you were just like, but Kristen, what is she wearing? She is wearing my bubble cardigan, a pattern by Stephen West. And this was a pandemic knit, let me tell you, because during the pandemic, I don't know if you remember, but I went through a very dark time. I'm sure a lot of us went through a very dark time, but when it came to my knitting mojo and it just came to creativity in general, I was feeling none of it. It was a drought. It was a very dark and dreary drought of no knitting, not feeling like knitting, and lo and behold, this pattern comes out. I don't know how long it was out when I cast it on, but anyway, I was just browsing Ravelry for inspiration, as you do, and I scrolled upon the bubble cardigan, and immediately I was just like, I think I need this sweater, this cardigan in my life. And I went stash diving and I pulled out a colorway combination of my own hand-dyed yarns, Voolenvine yarns, in 5 different colorways. We have, let me see, we've got Solstice, we've got Grim, of course. Every project literally has to have Grim in it. It's just my color. It goes with everything. So we have Solstice, we have Grim, we have Dirty on Purpose, History Bound, and my favorite colorway of all time that I dye is I Am No Bird. So those 5 colorways together. If you recall last week, if you subscribed to my shop newsletter, I actually dyed all these colorways up again. Some of them, with the exception of Grim, are still in the shop. So, you know, wink, wink, nod, nods, shameless self-promotion. If you want any of those colorways, there's still some in the shop. So have at it. But this pattern was my ticket back into the land of having a knitting mojo. And Stephen West, I doubt you're watching this, but thank you. Thank you for inventing this pattern. It held my attention. It's all I wanted to work on. Just, again, one of those patterns where it's just like one more stripe, one more stripe. There's something about stripes that are just super addictive and potato chippy. And yeah, it was during the pandemic that I was also more so of a monogamous knitter. I don't know what that says about me, but after watching this episode, you'll be like, Kristen, I think you should really revert back to being a monogamous knitter, because when I dove down the crochet rabbit hole, I literally let the floodgates open and just started casting on things willy-nilly. And you're probably wondering, Kristen, why is she on Margot the mannequin? Why aren't you wearing it now? Honestly, I like the way it looks on Margot right now. She looks very smart today, and I didn't want to take that away from her. So, but rest assured, she's getting a lot of wear, the cardigan that is. And I'm just wearing a regular store-bought cardigan that I got from Target, not sponsored. But yeah, the shape of this cardigan is very similar to the bubble cardigan, where in that it's just very oversized and big and cozy. So yeah, that's what Margot's wearing. That's the bubble cardigan. And let's get into some crochet. I had to take my cardigan off. It was getting a little warm in here. Guys, spring is coming, and I am super excited. What's the temperature at right now? It's still 41 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what that is in Celsius, but you know, it's not terribly cold anymore. But I'm really, really excited for spring to get here. But anyway, enough about the weather. You're here for the fiber arts and stuff. So let's talk about a whip that I've had on the needles for quite some time, since this whole crochet journey thing started. Let's talk about my Lamia Shawl, or wrap I should say, by Toni Lipsey. And this was my first foray into Tunisian crochet. Totally did not intend for that to rhyme, but there you go. And so it's all wrinkled, and yeah, it's clearly, it's just been smushed up in my project bag. Again, really wonderful pattern, really great entry into Tunisian crochet. I cannot recommend this pattern more. However, I've lost steam on it. I mean, are we surprised? No, we are not, because this tends to happen a lot on the show where I cast on all the things and you end up playing the game, will Kristen finish it? And at the rate that I use words like I've let it fall to the wayside, I've let it languish, it's marinating, you could probably turn that into a drinking game too. Every time I say one of those words, just, go for it, take a shot. But anyway, yeah, I really lost steam on this, not because of the pattern. Well, a little bit. This is only a 2-stitch pattern, so it's the Tunisian simple crochet all throughout this portion right here, and then for the edging, it's the honeycomb stitch, which is a combination of the simple Tunisian crochet stitch and the Tunisian purl stitch. So you're really just alternating stitches here, and then the rest is all just simple Tunisian crochet. I think this would have held my attention more had I been using a more interesting yarn, because yeah, while I really enjoy working with what is this? Cascade 220. This is Aran Weight Cascade 220, and a really beautiful, it's a light off-white gray, I want to say. And, while it's a beautiful color, it's a beautiful yarn to work with, I'm bored with it. There's nothing happening. It's just working on these 2 stitches and this one color. My brain has just checked out. And also because these are simple stitches, I finally got the gist of Tunisian crochet. I get it. And I'm ready to move on to something more challenging. Again, nothing wrong with the pattern at all. This is a wonderful pattern. I highly recommend it. I would like to revisit this pattern at some point with more interesting yarn, with something with more variegation or speckles, or just maybe like a really nice shaded solid. So unfortunately, this is hitting the frog pond, but what's not hitting the frog pond, what I'm still actively working on, is my intentions wrap. This is a pattern by Brittany Garber. While I'm still actively working on this pattern, my roll has slightly slowed, I'm not gonna lie. But it, again, it's like one of those stripy patterns that's really holding my attention. And I have to admit, I don't know what I was thinking, but I thought that once I used up all the mini skeins in the pattern, that I would be done with this. I thought it would be long enough, but after laying it out on the floor and looking at it, I'm like, I'm going to have to repeat all of these colorways again. So you're looking at a half finished object right now. I have the pattern completely memorized. It's been so relaxing to work on, and yeah, it's very meditative, intuitive, but I'm just halfway done. So I will stand up so you can see what it looks like from afar. So here's the cast on edge, and then it goes all the way to here. So now I'm just going to repeat the colorways in reverse until we get to this color. However, I think I'm going to end up playing Yarn Chicken with the main color, because this yarn, by the way, is by Yarn Cafe Creations. It was a mini skein kit, and it came, I believe, with 10 mini skeins and 1 full skein. And this is what I have left of the full skein. So, there's going to be some yarn chicken happening, which I'm completely fine with. And that said, I am slightly modifying the pattern because when you reach the center of the wrap, as opposed to repeating the lace only 3 times, she has you repeat it 6 times. And I'm actually going to omit that part, just because I know I'm going to have an uneven amount of stripes on the other side of that. So I'm omitting the wide lace in the middle and just continuing on with the stripes. And I think that's going to work out. So yeah, loving this pattern so much. This yarn, such a joy to work with. I mean, the colors, you would think, I don't know, like normally I gravitate towards darker colors, but this is kind of like a moody rainbow for me, and I'm just really here for it. As for tools, I'm using a very simple, very basic metal crochet hook. I picked this up from Michael's in a set. I think the whole set came with like 6 different needles, and they were like $11.99. Anyway, nothing fancy, but I really love, I love working with fingering weight yarn and a really fine hook, like a skinny hook. It's just, I love it. So I've really been enjoying working on the intentions wrap. Again, another great pattern that I highly recommend. But because I decided to frog my Lamia wrap, I was itching for another Tunisian crochet project, just because, I was ready for something a little more challenging. So I decided to cast on another Toni Lipsey pattern. And this is a pattern that I've, ever since I saw it, I was like, yes, I totally want to work on that. And it looks like I'm halfway through a row, but this is her Mulberry Afghan. And Yeah, can you tell I'm kind of obsessed with it? I have not been able to put it down since I cast it on. And the yarn that the pattern calls for is by Lion Brand. It's their Mandala Ombre. So this is their colorway in cool, and it's just lots of neutrals, lots of shaded blacks, grays, sandy browns, and whites. A lot of neutrals, which is what I've been into lately. So there's that, and then it also calls for it calls for 2 skeins of the ombre mandala, and then 3 skeins of, again, Lion Brand basic stitch anti-pilling, which is your basic run-of-the-mill acrylic yarn. But let me tell you guys, this yarn is so soft. As I'm working on this, it's just so squishy, and it almost feels like chenille, but it's not. It's just a very, I don't know what they do to it, but it's just so incredibly soft, so squishy and cuddly. And yeah, this is supposed to be a baby blanket, but believe me when I say that there are no babies in my future. I don't know anybody that's having a baby or anything, so at the end of the day, this blanket is going to Bella, my cat, because she's my fur baby, and yeah, I know she will appreciate it and use it on a daily basis, so yeah. And this isn't supposed to be a large blanket by any means, and I thought it was just a perfect way to, again, like, get my feet wet with Tunisian crochet, and yeah, I'm absolutely loving it. So here's where I am with it, and on the back, in case you're curious, yeah, with Tunisian crochet, the back isn't anything much to write home about, but it's still kind of cool. Sorry, my needles are hitting the microphone. Yeah, it still has an interesting texture. And you'll also notice that with Tunisian crochet, it has a tendency to want to roll up on itself, which, you know, after watching so many of Toni's TL Yarn Crafts videos and other videos, this easily blocks out, and once you add a border to it, it just flattens out. So I'm not concerned about that, but that's, in case you're wondering, that is the nature of Tunisian crochet. So yeah, okay, so that's where I am with the Mulberry blanket. And, you know, this has definitely become one of those, you know, projects where, you know, Dennis and I are sitting on the sofa watching TV, and I will just whip this out and work on it. So that's a lot of fun. But the next project I am super excited about, and I was really resisting casting this on just because I have all these other projects going on that I really need to finish. There is a breaking point where I'm just like, all right, Kristen, we've got to focus our attention on just a few projects so we can actually finish something and have something to show for on the podcast or on the YouTube channel. So I've decided this is where things need to end as far as me casting things on goes, because yeah, Kristen needs to finish things. I'm not sure if I talked about this pattern on the main channel yet. Maybe I have, but I know for sure I've talked about it at length on the Monday Waffle, which is my bonus vlog, my weekly, very casual bonus vlog for channel members, which, by the way, if you would like to support this channel and gain access to the Monday Waffle and some other bonus features, you can do that by clicking the join button down below this video. And for the price of a monthly fancy schmancy cup of coffee, you can do that, and it would mean the world. So thank you so much. If you choose to become a member, or if you already are a member, mwah, you are awesome, and I love you. This project, I'm super stoked about it, and it's living in this gorgeous project bag that Ashley of Pearl Magnolia, she doesn't have a YouTube channel yet, I don't think, but she is on Instagram as Pearl Magnolia. She's a crochet pattern designer and just a really wonderful friend. But for Christmas, she made this really beautiful project bag for me. I mean, how cool is that? Ashley, you are awesome. And I love how big it is because it is perfect for this project. And that project is the Fruit Garden Blanket by Jane Crow, also known as, I think her full name is Jane Crowfoot, but goes by Jane Crow. I will put links to where you can find this pattern. It's completely free, which completely blows my mind, because this blanket is truly a work of art, and so much work must have gone into designing it. But I think she did it in collaboration with Stylecraft Yarns and Rowan, and I don't know how it works, but it's a free pattern, and you should definitely check it out if you feel like taking on a huge challenge like me. So over the weekend, I resisted the urge. I thought, I'm gonna wait until I finish knitting my intentions wrap and then cast it on, but once I realized I was only halfway through the intentions wrap, I was like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to do it. I'm going to cast it on. So that's what I did. And I'm already done with clue 1. I should mention that this pattern was a crochet along. So every week or so, she would release a new clue. So the way the pattern works is that you download each set of instructions by the clue number. So I finished clue 1, believe it or not, which is eight granny squares, or great. Do you call these granny squares? I guess you could call them granny squares, but there's so much, they're so intricate and so, I can't believe I actually made these. They're just so incredibly beautiful. Look at that. Yeah, I can't believe I made this. But yeah, she has you first make these little tiny rosettes, and then she has you pick up some stitches behind the rosette and then build out the square from there. So you get this 3D effect, like it kind of sits up like that. And yeah, so she has you make 8 of these. And yesterday I started Clue 2, and these are a little more involved. They're a little more complicated, but completely doable. The instructions. Can we talk about the instructions? Because they are so clear, they're so well written, and there was no point at which I was like, what is she trying to say? Where am I on the pattern? The way things are spaced out, each step has a photo to go along with it. This is what it's supposed to look like. So thumbs up, 5 stars for this pattern, the way it was written. Yeah, I just feel like my hand has been held the entire time. And as a newbie crocheter, I'm pretty chuffed with myself. So I started Clue 2, and these are supposed to be columbine flowers. So it's a little complicated. You can see that it starts out very similar to the forget-me-nots, which are what these flowers are supposed to be. So it starts out the same as the forget-me-nots, and then she has you add these little thin leaves that kind of protrude out. And then, again, she has you pick up from the behind and then work your way out, and you basically tack down the leaves as you crochet along. So really brilliant design. I have to make 4 of these, so I've got this one started and I have that attached to the yarn ball. So the way that I'm going about working on this is that I'm working on each square in increments. So I'm making the initial flower. So again, I had to make 4, so I made 3 more. So here's what they look like before you start working on the square. Here's 1, here's 2, and here's 3. And I can't help feel like, for some reason, these remind me of SpongeBob SquarePants characters. The colors and their little octopus arms, I mean, it makes me laugh, guys. But anyway, yeah, so I made the flowers, and now I'm going to finish crocheting this square and then moving along to these 3. So thankfully I only have to make 4 of these, because I'm not gonna lie, these leaves over here, they're very involved, guys. You have to take your time. But to be honest, after I made 1 flower, I just kind of accepted it. I was like, you know what? All right, we're just gonna sit here. We're gonna take our time. We're gonna make some leaves, and it's all gonna be good. And I had a podcast going. It was delightful. So, making a lot of progress on that. And yeah, we're making an heirloom, my friends. I'm excited for it. And as for tools, what I'm using are these Etimo Tulip Reds. And not only do they look pretty, but they are a joy to work with, because I initially started out using a skinny metal hook, but because these are so very intricate and involved, the stitches, it's a lot of, believe it or not, looking at this, it's all just single crochet and double crochet, but mostly single crochet stitches. And I've noticed when I do a lot of single crochet stitches, my hand starts to hurt. So it really helps to have that extra ergonomic support happening on the needle. So just a little FYI tip for you, if you are experiencing some hand pain and you're using a skinny needle, just consider getting something with a better grip. Yeah, so anyway, that is living in this ginormous project bag from Ashley. And I've also got a giant bag of yarn I purchased from a website called woolwarehouse.co.uk. It was an international purchase, but shipping was pretty speedy. I think it got here within a week and a half, so thumbs up for that. And then Ashley actually recommended Wool Warehouse to me because they sell kits for all of Jane Crowfoot's patterns. But the yarn that I'm using is by Stylecraft. It's their Naturals Bamboo Plus Cotton, and it's supposed to be DK weight, but honestly, it looks more like fingering weight to me. It's very, very thin. But yeah, it's really thin. But you know what? It's the yarn that the pattern calls for, so I'm just gonna go with it. But yeah, I should mention that for the needles, I am using a size, what is it? Did I say needle? I meant hook. Again, coming from knitting, it's a learning curve, my friends. So yeah, I am using a US size 6 3.5 millimeter hook, but for the leaves, the little leafy sections, I am downsizing to a size 5 3 millimeter needle, just because I noticed on the first square that I made, my leaves were just a little too loosey-goosey, so the sizing down is helping a lot. So just a little tip in case you are considering casting one on yourself, and you notice your leaves are a little loosey-goosey as well. So that's my fruit garden blanket, and I am sticking with it, guys. My goal is to be completely monogamous with it. Occasionally, obviously working on my Mulberry Afghan, but for the most part, when I'm just sitting here in my craft room and watching YouTube videos or listening to podcasts, I'm just going to be working on my fruit garden blanket. Hold me accountable, guys, because I really want to finish this project. I don't want it to end up falling to the wayside. I don't want it languishing for another year or so. I want to finish it. And the goal is to finish it in time for a class that I signed up for. I don't know if you guys watched the most recent episode of Fruity Knitting, but she interviewed the owner of the Mercerie, who runs these really great online courses. They're online and in person. I think because of the pandemic, they took place mainly online, but now they're starting up to happen again in person. But after watching the episode, I was so inspired that I signed up. I ran to her website and signed up for her Homage to a Granny Square course, which does not start until May. So I have time. I have time to finish it before that class starts up. So, I'm really excited about that course because it's supposed to teach you all about color theory, which obviously as a hand dyer, I know about color theory, I know how to use a color wheel, but she has different activities which help you explore, color play, and I feel like I still have a lot to learn when it comes to choosing colors for projects because, obviously my default colors happen to be, black or mauve or green or, I've got my defaults, but it would be really cool to just kind of explore, different other color combinations and how it all works. And anyway, very excited for that. So again, I've got plenty of time before that starts up, and my goal is to finish the fruit garden blanket in time for that class. So hopefully that should motivate me. But I'm trying to think what else I have to talk about. Thank you so much to everybody for all your feedback on the last episode when I talked about spinning and how I got into spinning. A few of you requested some tutorials on how to drop spindle and how to use a wheel. While I'm probably not going to do a whole class, I'm going to show you, how I go about spinning things, because again, I am not a technical spinner. I just spin for the fun of it, and whatever comes out of my wheel, whatever comes off my wheel, I'm happy with generally. So I may do a couple of videos where I'm just showing you how I go about, what my process is when it comes to drop spindling and spinning on a wheel. So I hope you're excited for that. If you are and you haven't already, consider liking and subscribing to this YouTube channel because I am putting out videos for your viewing pleasure every week. And am I wrapping up this episode? I feel like I don't say that until the end. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to chit chat with you about. Yeah, I guess that is all the creative content that I have to share with you this week. So I am going to wrap things up. Thank you so much as always for hanging out with me. Have an awesome weekend. Happy making, happy knitting, happy crocheting, whatever your craft is, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.